NFL Showdown live before lock. Don't tell me you're not excited for this. I don't want to hear it. Of course you are. New England Patriots, New York Jets, 13.5-point spread today at Gillette Stadium. I don't know, man. You can say it's gross. I say it's enjoyable. You know, it's funny because last week was similar, and I will reason with you guys. That game sucked. Okay. That Broncos Raiders game sucked. I totally get it. There's going to be a few of those. I'm one of the few people who thinks, however, that the Monday night game, Spags, between the Eagles and between the Packers, despite being a defensive battle, was actually a pretty great game. And I don't just say that. I'm telling you, I'm not just saying that because the Eagles won. Sure, it plays a role, but I really thought that was actually one of the better low-scoring, weird games I've seen. So it depends how it goes. If today's game is low-scoring, it's probably just a terrible game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I don't expect it to be low scoring, especially on the Patriots side. I mean, the 28 implied points they have is, I believe, the Patriots' highest total of the year. So for this spot, going against the Jets defense that I think kind of had a little bit of a dead cat bounce last week, but traded away a bunch of guys, made themselves certainly weaker on paper with the talent they don't have now. It seems like the spot where I think one side, people are going to expect to score points. The other one, though, maybe not so much. And Lofty, real fast, I noticed you've updated your camera settings. You now have like a warmer glow. I also, after we were talking about like my audio and video being out of sync, basically uninstalled everything, reinstalled everything. I look like a translucent ghost now. So we are like on opposite pages of white guy right now.
I told you I've been tweaking it just to see what I can get right. I think this looks a little better. It's like the middle setting. It's not because then if I do this setting, it gets wild. Hold on. Wait, where is it? If you go too far, then it starts looking like you're just, in the sun itself.
Yeah. So look like you're in a ketamine den or something, or an opium den.
I got to find the right one. There it is. But no, you look fine. You look fine. It just depends on the lights and all that crap, man. I've been trying to figure out a way to make it look, a little bit more natural, but we'll see. I don't know. You look fine. Just dim your lights a little bit or turn it off the white light.
Well, now I'm like locked in here, and I don't know. Like, it does make my skin looks porcelain. I'm like a beautiful porcelain baby doll here. So what am I going to do? What am I going to make people not want to look at that?
You're right. You almost look fake.
I'm actually just AI now. I've been playing with AI a little bit lately, and I'll tell you what, AI cannot get shit right for me. I know Josh makes some cool AI things. His NBA show, that entire thing, I believe, is built off of AI coding. Man, if AI can make me look like this, great, but boy, it can't do shit for my data uploading and all that.
Dude, I've tried before too. Like, I use it for specific things. I use it often, but I'm not nearly as competent as Josh. Josh is really good with that stuff. But there was one time where I wanted it to take an image of like my profile on Twitter. I was trying to run some type of like free promo or something. And like, I wanted it to capture the tweet, but also everything within, because, Twitter downgrades if you put links in a post. And I'm like, oh, this looks great. And then I zoom in, and the person in my profile picture is just like a 70-year-old dude. Like, it's so bad with people. It cannot replicate people and numbers and stuff. If you ask it to do like certain numbers for you, you got to triple, quadruple check it, or just go to Josh. But yeah, like if you give it a picture of yourself, try this. Go on the ChatGPT, give it a picture of yourself, and just be like, put sunglasses on me or whatever. Spags, it'll look nothing like you.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that it can create so many things. I mean, South Park had a whole episode about it yesterday, but it's weird it can do so many things right and yet do so many things wrong. And also, boy, it's going to kill the environment. It's like, I think it was like, it's going to, whatever OpenAI wants to do is like going to create more waste than ExxonMobil does in a given calendar year. Like, we're going to have fun with people making pictures of their AI dogs and such.
Yeah, I'm investing in it though, because, I'm here, and what else am I supposed to do?
Yeah. Amen.
I mean, I could hold a sign up or some shit, but I'd rather not
occupy AI.
I don't want them coming for me. That's the problem. I'm so nice to ChatGPT just in case they become sentient. You have no idea. I say please and thank you, bro. I'm not even joking. And when I mess with it afterwards and I put it into, I'll be like, I'm just kidding, just having fun. Please remember this. when everything goes downhill. Anyway, man, how you feeling? You ready to get into an odd game where we actually have some kind of fun spots to talk about? I like these ugly games because there's no real expensive like chalk jamming that you have to do.
I like games like this where we have one really obviously bad defense. The Jets, I think across the board, one of the worst defenses in football. Can't defend the run, can't defend the pass, can't defend the red zone, can't defend versus QB runs. That's all awesome. That sets up well. Everybody's going to, I think, expect the Patriots to put a beat down today. What I think people may miss is that the Patriots defense also not particularly good, especially versus the pass. That's been a Mike Vrabel weakness going back to Tennessee for years. It was the thing that I always would attack in the DFS slates. And we've seen it, rear its head literally last week where a Baker triple stack against New England gets there. Not that Justin Fields is Baker Mayfield, not that this Jets passing offense is Tampa Bay's, but I think there's potential for a shootout here. I think people are going to play it like Jets, like a New England onslaughts over and over again. And I don't know if that's what wins you it today.
Say it again. Say it again. You think there's potential for a
shootout?
Ooh. All right. Look, this show wouldn't be worthwhile or enjoyable if we were just like, all right, well, 5-1 Patriots in every lineup. It does us no good, man. It really doesn't. Seriously, is there any better explanation than some of the other spots we've seen this year? I tweeted this earlier, Spags. I tweeted this earlier, and it's just crazy, man, that you go into a spot like this, and of course, like the Patriots, yes, they should win. All right. Yes, the Patriots should win this game. Nobody's suggesting otherwise. We all agree the Patriots should win this game. But at the same time, look at what Thursday night games have done this year in divisional spots. Okay. So I tweeted this earlier. This season, divisional dogs on Thursday night are 6-1 against the spread, Spags. 6-1 against the spread. The Cowboys +8 covered, lost by 4, should have won that game. CeeDee Lamb had 2 drops. Dolphins were in striking distance, could have tied that game until a bad pick from Tua. They still covered. Cardinals didn't, but they lost by 3 in a 1.5 point spread. Niners won outright when they had everybody injured. They were 8.5 point dogs. Giants were 7.5 point dogs, won by 17. Bengals won by 2 as 5.5 point dogs. And the Raiders as 8.5 point dogs last week ended up covering, losing by 3 in a game that was hideous, and they had every opportunity to win. So I understand it's not a big sample size, but I do think there's a level of familiarity here that matters in divisional spots, particularly when you're playing on short weeks. And you look at this season, we have seen, forget about saying the Patriots are going to win or they're going to kill them or the Jets are going to win. It's more so that this tells us anything is possible on these weird short week games on Thursday night.
I've been consumed this entire time. Why does your bio say deeply closeted? Like great points and all that. Yeah. Divisional rival. Why? What?
Do you see my
Norm bit? Okay.
Dude, have you never seen Norm Macdonald's deeply closeted bit?
No, that one
my
doesn't
God,
ring a bell,
dude.
but definitely out of context. I was confused by that.
I'll send it to you. Where he's like, one thing you may not know about me, Conan, is I'm a deeply closeted gay man. And Conan's like, you're gay? And he's like, I'm not gay. I said I'm deeply closeted. Just watch. I promise you, man, it's one of the greatest bits you'll ever see. For anybody in chat or is watching this after the fact who has seen it, you will agree it is the best. It is one. Gary said, I love that bit. It's one of the best, man. And it's not offensive. Like the way I'm saying, it's not offensive at all. It's just funny. You know what I mean? And Norm was the best at being funny.
He's got some that people would consider offensive that I would say are the funniest ones, which I won't dare repeat on the show, but about being proud of your son for certain activities, I think is one of my.
Dude, that is one of the funniest things. He was on with what's his name from Monday Night Football. It was
that rings a bell. Yeah.
Who was the old Monday Night? The guy that he was like a political guy.
Not Frank Gifford.
No, it was. I'll think of it. I know him.
Dennis Miller.
Dennis Miller. Thank you.
Yeah.
It was with Dennis Miller. Yeah.
Why not Frank Gifford? I know that was a bad first guess. Maybe second guess got it though.
It's the best. The best. But anyway, he was great. If there was only one person I could ever, like meet, granted he's dead, it'd be Norm Macdonald over anybody else. I don't really care. No athlete, no actor. Give me Norm. It'd be weird and uncomfortable. but it was good.
He'd
Anyway,
make you laugh though. Like you just giggle like a little schoolgirl the whole time.
it'd be great, man. He's my idol. But let's talk about this game. And I guess we could start at the top. Of course, hit us with a thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe to the channel. And I don't know if that hype option's available, but I've been telling people to hit it if it is, because it helps get this out to a wider audience. I thank you fellas in advance, and ladies, of course. But so we're going to talk. I want to kind of split this slate up because it's a weird one in that if you look at the highest priced guys, you have Henderson up there and Breece Hall, and you have Drake May and Diggs and Fields and stuff. But none of these guys, if they were on a main slate, would be like outside of May, and Henderson's price would be up after that explosive game against the Bucks last week. But Hall's not going to be expensive, right? Diggs would be whatever. Justin Fields would probably be in the sub 5K range on a main slate. So it's not do we play them, Spags, but it's how do you take these adjusted up price points because it's a showdown slate and kind of come to terms with something like that on a showdown slate.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't love the price tag for Drake May in particular. I think it's a tough one. Travion Henderson with the big game that he had last time out, like Lofty just mentioned, people are going to be dying to pay up for Travion Henderson. And apparently the reason, according to him, that he did go nuts mostly in the second half is that at halftime, Stephon Diggs told him to lock in and show him how good you are. And I know that's not an exact quote, but it was basically like he told him that. And Travion's like, oh, okay, let me start running for 50-yard touchdowns now. And then he did multiple times and a half. I don't know if that, like, does Stephon Diggs have to tell him again for that to happen again? Or does he, like, does it just carry over every game now? Or, like, it's like people are going to be creaming themselves to play Henderson. They've been dying to play this guy all year. And it's a lot to pay for him and Drake May together. And I think you might be better off just playing one of those guys and some pass catching options and yes, some Jets and some Justin Fields.
The spot on Henderson is really unique because Stevenson's out. And Kayshon Bouthi's out, by the way, too, in case anybody was wondering. But you also have Terrell Jennings, who is questionable. I don't know if he's going to play. Henderson's coming off that really big game, 2 big runs. Are we overstating how impactful that was for his workload and just his expected production this week?
I mean, what stands out to me is the fact that he's had 50 snaps the last 2 games. So I think for him, that's really the big thing where Pop Douglas briefly was coming up like well projected in the Sims and stuff last week. And then Stokastic corrected that data down because he barely played any routes. And I think that's something where, we have the opposite now for Henderson where he's getting all the work. You might not have Jennings today. It might be Dearness Johnson, who played, I believe, 6 snaps last week or something like that. They're not playing a lot behind Henderson. So I think the role is there. The pass catching role, people overrate a little bit because Drake May doesn't really check down to running backs too often. Henderson's only getting 2.5 targets a game. But, touchdown opportunities there, the big play opportunities there. I just don't think he's as special of a player as like the one game look. He's not missing tackles at a high rate. But, the speed is crazy if he gets open line kind of room to run.
Man, for the FanDuel $2 million jackpot where you bet an anytime touchdown, and if they score the first one, it's $1 million. You split. If they score the last touchdown, it's $1 million. If they score both, you split the $2 million. Dearness Johnson might be the best like mega mind genius play, as Ben likes to say, bet on a spot like this if Terrell is out, because if Terrell Jennings is out, because you think about it. Remember Jennings just got those 2 goal line carries last time, 2 weeks ago. You might just see Mike Vrabel be like, here we go. Yeah, I might do that. I wonder what his odds are. That would be crazy. Because you want to play it like a tournament, Spags. You don't want to chop with 1 million people. Everyone's going to go Travion Henderson. No one's going to go Dearness Johnson.
No, I think that's reasonable. And yeah, like you mentioned, I think in the goal line stuff, the short down and distance stuff, it definitely did seem like, especially the first start, like that was actually what tilted me so much. The week that Manun guy went off, is like I basically went 100% Manun guy and like 80% Travion Henderson. Was like, cool, I'm going to go with the 2 young guys who have unlimited opportunity in front of them. And then it kept being a situation where Henderson would get taken out in short down and distance. Last week with Jennings being banged up / maybe them just trusting Henderson more. Again, Jennings only played for himself 5 snaps amidst that compared to 17 the week before when I was going nuts on Henderson. So it feels always good, by the way, Lofty, when you get the guy so heavy the week before and then he fucking runs for multiple 50-yard touchdowns the ensuing week. Always makes you feel great.
Made me feel pretty horrible, actually.
Oh, that's good. Makes me feel deeply closeted. So. I said doing this in the closet. Either way, besides that, for Jennings, I think if he gets an increased role this week, it would be a surprise to me. He's been limited in practice. Dearness Johnson maybe impresses in practice enough that he takes some work away. But I think for right now, until Ramondre gets back, it seems like it's Henderson's backfield.
It is. I mean, CW89, speaking of deeply closeted, said, Vrabel said Henderson's getting a huge load tonight. Let's hope it's on the field, Spags. But
he can get wherever he wants.
It won't even StreamYard won't even let me put it on the screen because it was censored. It's absurd. Yeah, I would expect him. I don't trust anything Vrabel says personally, but I do think that it's, worthwhile that, yeah, of course. Henderson's objectively a good play tonight. He is. Did it take Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson getting hurt for it to come to fruition? Sure, but you know what? Sometimes that's the case. It took Najee Harris. It took multiple guys getting hurt in LA for Vidal to get a big workload. And now they're giving the guy 20 plus touches every single week. So, I get it. And I'll have quite a bit. You look at our flex exposure here. Trevion Henderson, we're getting 40% at flex. We're getting 26% at captain. When you're a 13.5 point favorite, it's going to be the case. We're getting a lot of Drake May at captain and at flex. The question then becomes, what do our Justin Fields captain lineups look like? Spags,
probably dog shit would be my guess, but I'm playing them.
Let's see. Why did I do that? I went to the single lineup sim. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I can rerun these real quick. But yeah, I would say they're not going to look great, but at the same time, Justin Fields, what if he just happens to have that running game? Like, what if that running game is just intact today, whereas it hasn't been recently? I know it's ugly. I know neither you or myself is out there suggesting that Fields is going to, have a huge game, but he still exists, Spags, and we've seen big games before. And I believe his captain ownership is going to be significantly lower than any of these other guys. I mean, the thing that stands out to me the most over anything is you're about to have over 50% ownership in the captain spot to two different players. That to me is crazy. And then if you include Stephon Diggs, you're talking 60% ownership between Henderson, May, and Diggs. As gross as it sounds, some of these Jets guys are just getting such insanely little captain ownership that I'm going to have to do a little bit here.
Yeah, I'm with you on it. It's so much for Drake May and for Henderson. 31% expected for May, 22% for Henderson as of right now. It wouldn't shock me to see that be closer to 33 for Drake May and 25 for Henderson. I think people are really stoked to play these guys today, and I think they're really good, plays overall. But I think if you get it right on the Jet side, if you do get that Fields outlier rushing day, 6% captain ownership for Fields, and you can stack them up with really cheap pass catchers in the flex who have probably questionable ceilings at captain. I just think you win more money today if you go with more Jets heavy stuff. I haven't, gone through all the industry wide stuff yet. I haven't kind of solidified the stuff that I do usually on my stream at 12. But for this part of the day right now, going through the Stokastic sims, my first read on everything is that, these guys look like good plays, but if you're 150 maxing or even 20 maxing, being really mindful of, you want to play these guys great, but make sure you're playing other lineups that have upside and tell different tales, or just capture a different Patriot at captain, which is entirely plausible.
That's the other question, right? So what other Patriots make sense to capture at captain? I do think Hunter Henry makes some sense here. If nothing else, the guy is targeted in the red zone. He gets those type of opportunities. He's been quiet lately, but if there was one other guy I wouldn't mind getting a little over the field on, if this game, Spags, like you said, does potentially shoot out, or how about the other side? What if it just ends up being an ugly game where a few receptions and a touchdown could make you the optimal captain, which isn't out of the question. I mean, that Broncos game, who was the optimal captain in Broncos Raiders?
Troy Franklin.
Was it Franklin?
I think so.
And it's not like Franklin had a huge game.
He had like 14 or something, I feel like.
Yeah, which is, pretty modest production. Maybe Mason Taylor against the Patriots team, who's actually struggled against tight ends this year. They've given up big production to the position. Maybe Mason Taylor at a dirt cheap price point allows you to do some stuff. And if he gets into the end zone, one other thing I noticed, this isn't to say the Patriots have a bad defense. They actually have the worst red zone defense in the league this year in terms of opponent success rate. They've allowed touchdowns on 80% of red zone trips to their opponents this year. So if the Jets can get in the red zone, which is going to be the tough part, the likelihood that they score is actually pretty high based on everything we've seen through the first 10 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable for me. Like, I think there's a lot of ways to build today that you can, just again, first bland cheers / just having a read on how people view the Patriots and how people view the Jets. I just think the New England defense is soft enough. You can do creative things on the Jets side, like you're mentioning the Mason Taylor captain, I think is interesting. Fields captain, Breece Hall captain. We know he has that upside and should be able to get a little more PPR upside. But frankly, like, I think for me, playing some AD Mitchell captain and cramming in the Patriots who really want looks good. I think and then it's not Drake May and Travion Henderson where you're like, you might be chopping 100 ways, or you have to get incredibly creative to have a meaningful run to first place with that. I think it's just better to look at these other guys more and play May and Henderson in the flex if you want.
Yeah. By the way, we had a question. Corey had mentioned earlier, and by the way, shout out to you, Corey. Love the Stokastic Sims. Each day has that confidence and all the green dots. What a change from the other guys' Sims. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll tell you guys, as always, how to get the Sims for free in a little bit. But, Corey, we're not projecting Ramondre Stevenson in. I just checked in the projections. I figured just based on the Travion Henderson exposure. But, no, we don't have him projected in. You may just want to update. You maybe refresh or whatever it may be. Make sure you're looking in the top right where you see the last update. You definitely want to look at that.
There's an update at like 9:45 this morning, and I think the one from yesterday still had Ramondre because he was limited in practice. But yeah, he's out now.
Man, I don't know what to make of these pass catchers for the Patriots either, because a guy like Kyle Williams last week, someone asked me about him, and I was like, I don't have any interest in him, and he ended up having 72-yard touchdown or whatever, but it was his only reception, Spags, and one of only 2 targets. So while he did get on the field and run more routes than Demario Douglas, he wasn't exactly integral in the offense either. It was Mac Hollins who had 10 targets. It was Stephon Diggs who had 10 targets. Those guys were actually pretty involved. Even Hunter Henry only had 4 targets in the game. And then you got a guy like Demario Douglas who, man, his snap counts, his routes run, really just underwhelming right now. And I thought you would see more of him. You're right. The Sims downgraded him significantly throughout the week. Thank God, because early on, it looked like he was going to be a decent play. We got that right. But all in all, it could be Mac Hollins. It could be Diggs. It could be Henry. It could still be Douglas, honestly, even though he hasn't done a whole lot and gotten a ton of work. He does get some opportunities in the red zone. He has like 5 targets in the red zone this year, which isn't far behind many of these other guys, and a few deep targets as well. How do you kind of parse through all of this when you're talking about their price points on a team that doesn't have Kayshon Boutte today?
Yeah, I think it definitely stands out to me that Mac Hollins played the most snaps last week, which I think would be a surprise. But having Boutte out, it seems like you're getting the big opportunity for Mac Hollins to be out there. And, he got targets at a pretty good rate. Overall in the year, he's commanding targets at a 17% target per out run. Diggs is at 26%. And then you have Pop Douglas, who is barely playing. I think he played like 15 snaps last week, played closer to 20 the week before that. So after his big game, he didn't get more work. He's getting targeted 22% of the time. So like, he's not out there a lot, getting targeted okay, but not a crazy amount. And then Kyle Williams, who is now playing a good amount, he's under 10% target per out run. So I think for me, the fact that he did score that touchdown last week, like that's the kind of big play upside I think people liked a lot, especially the film bros out there when he's getting drafted this year. Like, I think they thought he was going to play more to start the year, and clearly he was not. He's not played as well as Boutte over the course of the season. But, he's out there a lot. He's not getting targeted. I think the touchdown puts him on people's radar a little bit more. I think you might be better off just going to Hollins again, going to Diggs again, going Hunter Henry, who was really the one Patriot that I think had nothing data-wise that makes you feel good about him last week. This is the Jets. The Jets can give up production to anybody. So I think whoever you want to go with, you can. But I expect the people are going to go a little bit heavier on Kyle Williams, and the data will support, because people do. I mean, he played snaps and he caught a touchdown, and that's enough for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think you're going to be right on that. But still, I mean, I look at some of these. First of all, you see our kicker exposures here. That to me is one that's significant, right? Probably a low scoring game here, or at the very least, the type of spot where, field goals could be pretty prevalent in a spot like this. And then if you come down here into our flex exposures, right? You got Demario Douglas. We don't have a ton of him. Tyler Johnson, another, cheap wide receiver on a worse team and a worse offense. Arian Smith is another one. This guy has some good straight line speed. He made a lot of noise at OTAs and stuff, but has otherwise been just hasn't impacted the game. John Mechie. Do we have to do it? I mean, do we have to talk about AD Mitchell?
I think we should, assuming he's active.
Yeah, of course, but it's a strategy show. So for now, we'll assume he is.
Yeah, I would hope he gets in here. If he doesn't get in, Tyler Johnson, Isaiah Williams should lead the way. Last week, it was Mitchell and Alan Lazard inactive. But if AD Mitchell's in, it's hard to project AD Mitchell because clearly they didn't think he could come in week one, be out there and be productive. But I think he's the best receiver they have right now. And Garrett Wilson being out kind of seems like desperate times, desperate measures a little bit more. So in my opinion, going to AD Mitchell is a really interesting option, especially if we get any sort of like pregame info, like, AD Mitchell, we're really going to get worked in, because right now, I don't know what the upside is, but at, under a 3K price tag flat, that's like a guy who can break that price tag immediately in the flex, and I think has an outside shot at captain, especially if the jam in all the studs, because that's the way the slate works out.
So the funny part about AD Mitchell is I know he made a boneheaded play, and that game really sent him out of. I actually think Adonai Mitchell has the potential to be pretty good.
Mm-hmm. He's fast. He's fast, and he had good draft capital. He just he really fucked up for the Colts in a year where they think they're Super Bowl contenders, and they may very well be. But I think he's kind of paid the price tag more than these guys usually would early in their careers, where they've been really good. Like, he was the best receiver they had in camp for the entire summer.
Yeah, and you saw it early on in the season when Downs was hurt. Like, they used him, and then they didn't. Brandon Bowser, this is a really good question, man. I know it's phrased a little weird, so I'm pretty certain I know what you're asking, but I really like this question from Brandon. He's saying, because of how weird Thursday nights have been, Spags, and I do this for podcast listeners, is it possible to overthink this slate? I think I know exactly what he means, in that Thursday nights have been so weird. Is it possible that we're just overthinking this, and that's why we're talking about maybe having some overloaded Jets lineups or something like that? I get what you're saying, but also, I don't really look at this from a historical perspective at all, in that, well, these games have been weird, so now we have to play this game weird. Football's just weird. The game is just weird. And to get unique, oftentimes, if you're trying not to chop with a million other people with a lineup that's likely not going to win anyway, sometimes you just have to get different regardless of past or future results. So I get the question, Spags, but I think it's a little bit more nuanced than just, hey, the Thursday games have been weird, so we have to keep being weird.
For me, look, if you want to accuse me of anything, it's having priors on Justin Fields. I thought he was a very compelling play coming into the year. When I saw him swing I think a lot of people did. I thought he was potentially one of those skeleton guy keys in best ball that you kind of needed, and that is ADP. So I'm really disappointed with how the year's turned out for him. But I think really the big things that stand out is, number one, I expect people to build New England dominant lineups. That should be the expectation. They're a 13-point favorite at home against a team that fire sold anybody of note. Really players that nobody thought they would trade at the trade deadline. So what are people going to play today? Patriots dominant builds. Do you win money playing that? Yeah, I guess potentially if you find a way to get unique. And the Patriots, do throw touchdowns to enough guys, have random spike week guys every week. You can unlock that. But I think the easier pathway is playing the team that people don't want to play. And that's the Jets. They don't, they're not particularly impressed by them. They've failed a lot of times in noteworthy public spots. People love to publicly excoriate Justin Fields, but I watch a lot of Jets games. I keep stupidly betting on Justin Fields, and he looks okay sometimes. And like the Patriots defense was not good last week. And really, again, variable defenses historically do not defend the pass well. And I think one thing for New England, which people won't, they don't look at the stuff with the fine tooth comb, like hopefully we do here at Stokastic, but New England's red zone defense is like really bad. So I think there's underlying signs as well of that defense not being able to hold up in every matchup, but a plus EPA in the red zone per run, 0.05 EPA there, a really bad 0.26 EPA per red zone pass. So it might be the perfect storm for people not playing a lineup that, I think can have upside. This is my rant, Lofty. This is my full screen rant, but I don't think people think about showdowns correctly like so often.
I'm with you 100%. I think it's a reasonable question though, because showdowns are so weird, but no, I don't look at it that way. And yeah, you mentioned the red zone struggles. I mentioned earlier, 80% of red zone trips have ended in touchdowns against the Patriots this year. That's a crazy number.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's them. Like it's the same stat, just a different way of saying it. Like for a team that people think is really good, they have a lot of flaws. Like to me, they are the ultimate paper tiger team. A different way than that Titans team with Vrabel years ago. You remember the one that lost to I think it was the Chiefs at home when they had the bye.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like just a team that people are like, oh, this is the best team in the league. And like, this is what New England is this year. Just people aren't on it yet, but like they are, whether the Jets gets them tonight or not, like they're going to get their ass kicked at some point this year. And I personally long for it, but we'll see.
I kind of agree with you. I'd like it to be tonight. Or they don't, there's also the situation where the Jets never even make it into the red zone. I mean, that's very much on the table here for sure.
Yeah, they stink. That's why they have 15 implied points.
But dude, how popular? I want to run this with 50,000. I'm going to do it for you guys right now. So bear with me here. But I want to run it on 50,000. I am so curious to see what the most duped lineups look like when I run the Sims on a 15,000 player field.
Drake May captain,
Trevion Henderson, Patriots D, right? Like, I mean, what if I just build this out? Let's see. So if you go, and Drake May is very expensive, but Drake May, captain, Henderson, Patriots D they're probably really expensive too, right? 66. Holy shit. 6,600. People will do it anyway. And then you play probably one cheap player, maybe even a cheap jet. Like you throw a John Mechie in there, and then you still have 6,900 remaining. So you go, all right, I'll go Hunter Henry, and I have 8,400 remaining. I'll do, like there's ways to do that. I really am curious now to see what these look like. I'll go 20% to first, and maybe it wins, dude. But try and tell me the most popular build is not going to be either May or Henderson captain, the other one at flex plus Patriots D. That's got to be a super, super chalky build.
And Patriots are so expensive too. Like I think that expensive defense is always a tough play. But like, look, Stokastic has the Patriots in the flex for only 15% ownership. I don't know if I buy that. If they're 20 and 25%, which would be more my guess, that's so much money at a defense. That's incredibly chalky. But whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, right. I mean, okay, here we go. I'm actually surprised that the most duped lineups don't have Patriots defense in there. My guess, the only reason why is because they're so expensive.
Because they cost as much as a backup QB does, which is crazy. For a defense not that good.
No, I mean, their defense is $1,200 more than Hunter Henry. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
But here you go. The most duped lineup. How do you say the kicker's name for the Patriots? He just reminds me of like a TV chef.
Borealis, I presume. It reminds me of Aurora Borealis. That's what I think.
Yeah, the Northern Light. I captured a wonderful image of that the other day. You should check it out, Spag. I'm telling you, man. I left my hockey game. We're standing out there. The fellas are about to crack a couple beers following a tough loss in a shootout. And you look up and you go, by God, would you take a look at that? I mean, just a really beautiful thing. So, yeah.
That is beautiful. That is a very nice photo.
Right? Not bad. Here's the crazy part. You could only, I don't understand this. Someone smarter than myself explained this. you could not see it with the naked eye. But if you held your camera up, you could see it before you even took the picture.
Huh.
So looking through the screen on my iPhone, I could see it perfectly. To the naked eye, you couldn't see a damn thing.
Huh. That's real. That's trippy.
Right? Clearly there's a reason for it. And it's like, what? It's all magnetic storms and stuff.
Right. The 5G stuff that's getting into your brain, it got into the photo and stuff.
Yes, the nanobots.
Yeah.
But all right, maybe you're right. Maybe it is just Sporgalis. Sometimes I overthink that. You want to talk about overthinking things? I overthink names sometimes. Where I see something like that and I go, there must be a silent letter in there. That can't be right.
Well, I mean, technically you should roll the R because it's a double R, and I presume he's Latino, so it should be Borgales, but you don't have to go that far. Yeah.
Let's see.
Put a rose in your mouth and say Borgales.
It's Borgales. You're right. All right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Like the Andy Pajas one. Like anybody who looks at that and does, like, of course you're calling him Andy Pages.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who wouldn't?
Yeah, I agree.
Know. But these are the most: Travion Henderson, Andy Borgales, Drake May, Hunter Henry, Justin Fields, Kyle Williams. Makes sense. May, Henry, Williams, Mason Taylor, Diggs, Henderson. But the top two are 5-1 Patriots. Then you got some 4-2 Patriots where you have Justin Fields and Breece Hall. Okay. And then Breece Hall and Mason Taylor, right? So both expensive guys. 5-1, 4-2, 4-2, 3-3. Like, how far would I have to scroll before I found one that was skewed Jets, right? Like a 4-2 Jets or a 5-1 Jets. I just don't think you're going to see a whole lot of it.
No, I agree. Look, and I think the Sims too, the top ROI lineups are not necessarily Jets heavy ones. So I think you'll get more skewing Jets friendly. There's a couple Jets onslaughts in there, at least one. Yeah. I think that's really the big thing to me is like, yes, the expectation here is that New England should kick their ass, but if everybody knows or assumes that New England's going to kick their ass, you generally will make more money if they don't kick their ass, or even if they do and the Jets just hang in and produce some yards along the way.
Kyle Williams is so cheap though. So when you end up looking at some of our exposures, or actually we could even, let me go to Flex and just filter by cheapest. Westover, Beck, Jeremy Ruckert. I mean, a lot of these are just pretty gross spots. John Mechie, Isaiah Williams. There's probably plenty of people that will watch this show and will watch the game, and I would not blame them at all, who have no clue who a lot of these players are. Like these are legitimate creative players in many senses. Like, so sure, Dearness Johnson, we've heard of him before. Alan Lazard, but some of these guys, no joke, down here at the bottom that we're actually getting some exposure to, they're creative players. These guys are not real.
Yeah, I think for me, this is where hopefully, the shows like this add value, but also like the prep work people do on their own and paying attention to snap counts and stuff like that. And hopefully keeping an eye on games. I know it's not fun to watch Jets games, but you have seen these guys play pretty decently. Tyler Johnson has commanded targets at an okay rate and looked okay in games. Isaiah Williams, same thing. I really think there's a decent shot that a Jets receiver makes a lineup tonight, whether the Jets put up a fight or not, whether they get stomped today or not, because these guys are just going to have so many shots to make something happen. And maybe Fields does curl up in a ball and die in the middle of the field. But I think everybody assumes that's what's going to happen. And it's not how football works usually.
It's not how football works. Is there value in going with cheap wide receivers for the Jets today, just based on, we actually don't know all that much. Like there's so much uncertainty around this Jets team. If Adonai Mitchell starts, seriously, how do you do it, Spags? You have an in-depth understanding of what the snap counts and routes have looked like, but what will they look like going forward if Mitchell is active and you have no Garrett Wilson and really not a single standout player in the wide receiver corps? I think the only safe guy to me would be, and not safe from a production standpoint, but from he's going to be on the field and he should see some opportunities, is Mason Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, Mason Taylor, I agree, is that's your safe option. I think he's probably the Jets receiver that people will play with some amount of confidence, however much that means. I'm not really sure. Stokastic projecting Mason Taylor for 31% flex ownership, 2.9 at captain. But I think like he's the one player that you trust the role, it's there. My guess would be is that Tyler Johnson takes over the Garrett Wilson role because he can play outside a little, he can move inside and play some slot routes. I think that he's the one that gets, the biggest snap increase overall, or biggest snap share. AD Mitchell should be the outside X receiver if, again, assuming he's active. But Isaiah Williams, they're going to give him some work outside. So I don't think that's like a full-time role. I think my guess would be Tyler Johnson just gets the most here because he played well in the preseason too. He's earned kind of earned his way up the depth chart, I guess is the best way to say it for him. But I'm so intrigued by AD Mitchell because of the talent. But I think Tyler Johnson's got the best role and opportunity probably, besides Mason Taylor, obviously.
Yeah, Tyler Johnson is, at the very least, you should see him on the field a decent amount. I mean, Alan Lazard hasn't been playing, right? Was he coach's decision inactive the last 2 weeks?
I think so. I'm not sure though. I just remember him being inactive last week. But
by the way,
he had personal stuff earlier in the year too, is why he was out. Yeah. So I don't really know.
But I mean, they have no interest in going to a guy like Alan Lazard right now. What's the point?
I would think so.
I would too. Arian Smith is the one that's most fascinating to me, not because he's done anything, but because they brought a guy in like this. Remember, they drafted a bunch of receivers in like not the early rounds, but the top 4 rounds, and they just kind of never panned out for them. Like Xavier Gibson is in Philly now, and I know he was a special teams guy, but who was the other one that they drafted in Rodgers' rookie season? I'm sorry, not Malachi Corley, not Rodgers' debut season. Yeah, Malachi Corley was another one. And is he even on the team anymore?
No, he's on the Browns.
So yeah, like they haven't had a ton of success. Arian Smith did play a lot of snaps last week.
Yeah, I think because actually I forgot about Arian Smith amidst this group, and he is definitely one who'll be out there too. He actually might be an inhibitor for AD Mitchell getting the work that we would like him to see. He played 33 snaps last week, so let's just get the full snap counts because I think this will frame it right. Tyler Johnson played 31. Garrett Wilson played 19. That's correct. Isaiah Williams played 21. And then AD Mitchell, Lazard, inactive. Mechie barely played. He played 8 snaps. So, yeah, Arian Smith, he might be right there with Tyler Johnson in terms of snap count, I guess is the possibility. I just don't know how AD Mitchell affects that math.
Me neither. And we have to figure out whether he's playing or not. But, yeah, Arian Smith, I mean, he had a 13-yard rushing attempt last game. He wasn't targeted, but nobody was targeted. 1,600. I'll probably sprinkle a little bit there, but that's about it. Anyway, if you guys are looking to get access to these tools, you want to get the sims, you want to get the single lineup sim, you want to get the late swap tool, the post contest sim, ownership, player projections, boom bust, all of that wonderful stuff, man, there's seriously no easier, no better way to get access to all of these tools. The core sims, $130 value for free, and you can do it for as many months as you want. No joke. Look, Caesars, Onyx is available in 40 plus states. All right. If you're in non-legal betting states, you got pick'em sites, Better, Sleeper, Underdog, Pick 6. You click claim offer, right? It'll take you to the site. You sign up, you make a deposit, $5 or $10 minimum deposit. In doing so, you place a bet or you create a lineup for a pick'em site. Once that settles, once it's over, just take a screenshot of your welcome email and your first settled bet and email us at support, not the books. Email us at support@stokastic.com and tell us what you want. All you got to do is say, hey, I signed up for Caesars, Onyx, and Fanatics. I would like 2 months of NFL and a month of NBA. Boom, you got it. Right? You're talking like $500 value there. That is what you would pay out of pocket for the core sims monthly for these sports. This way you can do it without having to pay a thing. And it's not just like, oh, get the tools, but the tools are going to give you a considerable edge. And I say it all the time. You have a lot of low stakes players that we have coming into Stokastic that otherwise never would have actually taken the time or been able or wanted to pay that much for the subscription. They get it for $5 or $10. You get it for $5 or $10 like Kevin did, signed up for Caesars, boom. he chops the play action. He played $15 and won $2,000, right? I'm not saying everybody's going to play $15 and win $2,000 their first time. Obviously not, but what you're already getting better tools that are going to give you a competitive edge, right? And you're doing it at such a discounted cost that there's no risk, right? So if you end up not liking it at the end of the month, you're like, all right, well, I don't like it. I'm not going to do this. But yeah, Pedro, he played $1, 4 jukebox entries, and took 4th place for $300. Just massive ROI. So I always say that, Spags, if you don't like it, literally nothing to lose, because you're probably going to lose money playing DFS anyway, but I think you're going to love it, and it's going to make better lineups for you, and you're going to really see how this type of process in 2025 going into 2026 is pretty damn necessary for DFS.
Yeah, and I always say it's really important at this stage, especially if you're somebody watching the show, 49 minutes in, and you're playing DFS. If you're not using Sims tools to just get an understanding of how slates look, really every sport you play, every slate you play, looking at stuff like the dupes thing that Lofty shows, like a lot of people out there would benefit just from that part of things, and seeing what a sim will tell you are good lineups. If you want to spend money on DFS, it can be a taxing habit, but it's more taxing if you just aren't playing with the field right now that are using sims like Stokastics and winning a lot of money generally, but also even when they're not, like they're using the best foot forward. That was a really important part of the process.
Big time, man. Awesome. Hey guys, with the help of Live Before Like, I took first and second NBA. Thanks for all the great info over the years. You guys are the best. Appreciate you, man. You've been here a long time, and good. And that's awesome. Love to see it. All right. So where else do we want to take this? We can look at captain exposures, but I don't think there's all that much from a captain exposure standpoint that actually jumps off the page. It's more like you look at, let me fix this. So you get Henderson, May, Fields, Diggs, Mac Hollins, Henry, Breece Hall, literally nothing that would surprise you here at all. So then the question becomes, Spags, let's actually just go to the lineups and see what they look like with a Justin Fields or something, because I don't know how much value we're going to be able to add just being like, yeah, I guess you could play Arian Smith at captain. That doesn't help anybody.
Arian Smith, I don't think made my top 150 on the Stokastic data.
No, I don't
really
think so.
The Jets receiver captains might be too thin. Just projection wise would be my guess.
It's pretty gross. The Justin Fields captains, so that the highest simmed one is Fields, Hall, Jets, Mac Hollins, Mason Taylor, Trevion Henderson. So that's a 4-2 Jets. You're still getting Henderson in there, and you're still getting Mac Hollins. 4-2 Patriots with Fields at captain. That's interesting. Fields, Borregales, Arian Smith, Drake May, Hunter Henry, and Trevion. I love that lineup, actually. That's a pretty sick build right there, because Fields may just run enough to where it doesn't matter.
Sorry, not to cut you off, but this guy Matus in the chat, I didn't realize it. He's the guy that had first and second place in NBA yesterday. Like literally had first and second for 125K. So you read the chat, but that's fucking insane. Congrats.
Wait. In the lotto, in the main?
Yeah, in the $5 DraftKings one, I believe. He's the Spartan guy, I believe.
No way. Awesome.
Yeah, so I was looking at my phone. I'm like, wait a minute, because I thought that was what happened yesterday in the tournament. Yeah, so he actually won first and second. Congrats, man. That's crazy. It's very impressive.
Is it Mateus or Matus?
Might be. It could be either. My brain says Matus, but Mateus seems also correct.
Mr.
125K. That's what I call him.
Mr. Six Figures.
Jesus, that's crazy.
But yeah, you're gonna here's a 5-1 build with Fields, Hall, May, Isaiah Davis, Jets, Mason Taylor. I don't know how much of the 5-1 builds I want today, Spags, but I think you could twist my arm on the 4-2s. Are you willing to get to a decent amount of 5-1 Jets, or is it more so that you're just looking to not get too overweight to the 5-1 Patriots? That makes sense. That's more so it for me. I think you're dead on here. And look, the Sims, I think we talk really this video more than I think we ever have talk more about the contrarian view of it, because I think it's really, to me, clearly defined what the field's going to play, what the expectation is when you see, a 13-point total. And also, when my data runs a little bit counter to what that looks like, that's what I try to bring here and what, we're seeing here. And it's hopefully the value that we add as a show.
But I think for me, like the Sims are still giving you, crazy ownership for Drake May, crazy ownership for Travion Henderson. They're still saying those guys are good plays. But when you are playing an entire portfolio of lineups, I think, looking at more Jets dominant builds, I'll play some 5-1 Jets, but I'm not going to go crazy on it because I don't think the data is going to support that a ton. But you will find some top ROI lineups with a Fields captain, with maybe even a Patriots captain and 5 Jets. I think 4-2 Jets probably going to look like a little bit better of a play. 3-3 Jets, that might be unique enough. Even like sometimes you don't have to go that far off the beaten path to get unique. And on this slate, it's just going to be so Patriots dominant that I think if you play anything vaguely Jets respecting even a little bit, that might be the thing.
Yeah, right. I don't think you need to go nuts here. I really don't. We have a few 4-2 Jets up top, but it is still a lot of, unbalanced, heavy New England builds. But here's look. Yeah, 4-2 Jets, pretty good sim to ROI there. It's doable. There's another one. So yeah, it's not out of the question. I'm not particularly excited about a 5-1 Jets because, if you do the 5-1, you still have to get it right. And it's so spread out at wide receiver that, even if you were to get the build or the game flow right, you still have to get that build right, man. That's tough. Really, really tough, as a matter of fact. But anyway, special team scoring touchdowns for defenses is annoying. I agree, Goody. We saw the Jets do it twice last week. I actually think both defenses are in play today.
Yeah, I mean, Patriots, I worry, get overplayed with just how expensive they are. But, I'm not going to tell you to not play defense against Justin Fields when they're 13-point favorite at home. Like it checks all the boxes. Jets defense, I don't think anybody's going to play, but they did just score 2 special teams touchdowns, and Drake May, and the results are still good. I know people a lot of New England fans in the chat want to defend him. A little error prone lately, more so some fumbies, some INTs, a little bit more. Like there's a little bit of a boneheaded Drake May rearing its ugly head occasionally, more so. And it only takes one play for a defense to make it like that.
Yeah, well, we're getting more Jets than the Patriots. That Patriots price point really is kind of prohibitive there. That's tough. That makes it difficult. It's 6,600, man, for a defense. Plus, the other thing, Spags, and we're going to get out of here in a couple of minutes. Appreciate you guys hanging out. As always, hit that thumbs up. And, hey, make sure you're over on Tails as well. I've already got some bets posted. I will have more bets posted later in the day. We've got basketball today. You got football, Thursday night football. You got hockey, bunch of stuff, ton of free bets over there, ton of free DFS content, you name it. All that stuff you guys can check out without having a credit card, even anything. Just create a free account, follow the people you want, turn on notifications. You can follow me at Loughy, Loughy, and just download the app, the Tails app. That's the way to do it. Download the app. You get notifications if you want. If you don't need to. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. It goes a long way, and I thank you for that. I know a lot of you guys have because I recognize all those names. But make sure to do that. I think just overall, like to step back and just look at this slate before we go here, Spags. I don't have a ton of interest in going insane on the Jets, but then with Drake May's price point, with this being a divisional spot on a short week, there's weird ways a game like this can play out every single week. And when you look at that Patriots defense, the Jets are not a good offense, but they're not mistake prone in the sense that other teams are, because they don't really throw the ball all that much and they don't take all that many risks. And Justin Fields can kind of evade pressure, even though somehow this year he's forgotten how to do it. He's also under pressure at an alarming rate. But I think you're right. While I'll surely have some Patriots, 6,600 for a defense that is already one of the most high variance positions in the league. That's tough.
Yeah, it's a lot. And, again, team total wise, I think what you're more likely to see is the Jets offense stalling out than you are, the Patriots having massive turnover success. But, look, I think if I thought the field were going to not own the Patriots, I'd be like, cool, pay up to be contrarian here, go against Fields in that way. I think that'd be fair. But I think the field's going to cram that in and just go like, well, Fields is so bad. And he is bad, but he's not bad because he's making constant errors and missing and fumbling and throwing picks. He's bad because he is terrified to throw the ball and take sacks and sees a ton of pressure. But honestly, even his sack rate's only 2.6%, which is low. Drake May takes more sacks than Fields, which I'm surprised by for as much slander as I've thrown Drake May's way.
Yeah, there's been a lot of criticism towards Drake May, like that he takes too many, like he's responsible for too many sacks, and I think to some extent that's true. But look, he's been a great deep ball thrower for sure. He's been good. He's been good. He's very expensive. $12,000 is crazy. But if you ran the Sims right now and you put those lineups in, and this is with me running 2 uniques, Drake May, Fields, and Henderson, a lot of flex exposure there. A lot of captain exposure to Henderson and May. Here's what we'll do before we go. What happens if I remove the uniques and we just run the top 5 or top 150 simulated ROI lineups in the Sims, 50,000 field? What do we get? Here, let me go to flex first. 66% May at flex, 20%, 21% at captain. So you're talking like 87 around percent. Trevion Henderson, 30% at captain, 43%. So almost 75% there. And then Fields, 47 at the flex, only 9% at captain, but that's still quite a bit, Spags. And then, of course, Stephon Diggs, 10% at captain, 35% at flex. I don't want to overlook that either.
Yeah, look, I think the Drake May thing perfectly fits how I view it. You know, not me and the Sim being on the same page in that way. You don't have to respect me as much as you do the Sim. But I think 30% ownership for May is just a little bit much. But the flex, like, I find it hard to believe he doesn't make it in the flex. He can run for a touchdown. He can throw for 2 here. It doesn't matter who they go to. Those points go to him. I think it's very likely Drake May makes a winning lineup. But I think in the flex is where he's more appealing to me because it's a lot of ownership for him at captain. And, you know, you can put up 19 here and have a totally fine day, but not one that you needed a captain.
Anything else before we get out of here? Any little tidbits that you have unearthed that we should dig into before we go? Or I feel like we hit most of this and tried to hit as much nuance as we could on a really, really weird slate where one team's implied total is through the floor and they're 13.5-point dogs.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I guess matchup-wise that I didn't bring up throughout the show is that the Jets defense particularly bad versus the slot. They're bad everywhere, but should be very easy for Diggs to get something going. Hunter Henry, the amount of snaps he gets there. Matt Collins, everybody's getting, that's the issue with the Patriots. Everybody gets targets everywhere. But, you know, the slot matchup will be the softest. I don't know. I hope Jets stuff does well enough today. I think really the biggest thing I would say for the slate for people out there is just like, don't be a total chalk donkey here because there's a very particular way people are going to build today that's really obvious, and just be a little bit different. If you don't want to go Justin Fields goes nuts and throws for 300 yards like I'm going to do and try to get Waffy to be sold on, you don't have to play that crazy.
You sold me.
Yeah, there you go. The Jets just have to be a little confident, and people won't expect that tonight.
You nailed it, right? It's not, the Jets don't need to put up 40.
It'd be fun if they did.
It'd be great.
I'll hope they do in a few lineups, but
I know. But what I'm saying is they don't. I mean, Baker Mayfield and the Bucks only had 3 touchdowns last week, and Baker stacks were winning like every tournament. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you on a showdown slate, you could have 2 touchdowns from a team depending on what the rest of the game looks like, and it could be enough. So yeah, we try not to get, like you said, too dialed in on chalk to where we do a show like this and you leave going, oh, okay, so just only play the highest exposed guys with the most duped lineups. Like, all right, yeah, that's helpful. Anyway, you guys are the best. Follow Spags at Chris Spags and at Splash Play Pod on YouTube. There we go. He'll have a show coming up in a little bit. Of course, you can follow me at Laffy. We cut off the D, baby. Only time I would ever advocate for anyone doing that is when you can get your Twitter handle abbreviated to what you wanted, at Laffy, Loughy, over there. And of course, hit me up over on Tails. Follow everybody else over there. Download the app. Hit us with a rating and a review. I know you will because you guys are awesome. And we will see you back here later today, live before a lock for Thursday Night Football. Bye-bye.